retirement blessed. Now, singer and actress Pansy Williams will lead us in the Black National Anthem. Lift every voice and sing.
Lift every voice and sing to that memory. With the harmonies of liberty, let our rejoicing rise high as the listening skies.
Welcome to the 18th annual Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Justice Program and March to the Dr. King statue. Each year, the Martin Luther King Justice Coalition commemorates Dr. King, who confronted not only racism in our society, but also the evils of militarism, poverty, and economic injustice. It was Dr. King's strong public stance against the Vietnam War and his launching of the Campaign for Economic Justice that unfortunately marked him for assassination on April 4th, 1968. This is the 11th year we've held this program here at the St. Francis of Assisi Church, the birthplace of Milwaukee's civil rights movement. We are very appreciative of the kindness.
Well, in the name of St. Francis Parish, welcome everyone. My name is Father Mike Bertram, and I'm the pastor here and also at St. Benedict, and it's always a pleasure to have all of you here. We celebrate a great man today, Dr. Martin Luther King, who modeled himself along the guidelines of justice and peace and love. So thank you for being here today. Let us not let our guard down, but in fact let us redouble our efforts to work on behalf of justice for all. Thank you so much and have a wonderful day.
It's an honor to be here with you today as we celebrate the life and legacy of the Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Those of you who know me know that I'm an unapologetic labor and public education activist. Public education is a civil right, and I'm inspired by the act of love shown by LA teachers who are risking it all to get the basic needs met for their students. I'm also inspired by many of the people here in this room today when I think about the men and women in our community who had a personal connection with Dr. King and contributed to the struggle for civil rights in the spirit of Dr. King. Several of these respected elders are with us today. We would like to introduce them and have them stand. Reuben Harpole and Mildred Harpole, Reverend Joe and Joyce Elwinger, Peggy Razga, also the newly named Wisconsin Poet Laureate, Fred Reed, representing the Commandos, George Martin, Ruth Sabrinsky, Dr. William Finlayson, and Lucille Barron. Let's give them a round of applause. Are Dr. Jay Larkey, who passed away in 2016, and Mel Phillips, the Grand Lady of Milwaukee's Civil Rights Movement, who passed away on April 17th of this past year. Thank you all for your contributions to the civil rights movement, to our community, and for carrying on the legacy of Dr. King.
It is with honor that I introduce attorney, alderwoman Malele Cox. She has done a tremendous job being an alderwoman, and she is the first as well. She was sworn in as the sole female member of Milwaukee's Common Council some years ago. So at the time, she was the youngest on the Common Council, and she is the first to serve as the chair on the Financial and Personnel Committee. One of the things that she was able to accomplish as an alderwoman is to honor Vel Phillips, as we are right now on Vel Phillips Avenue. Give a warm welcome to Alderwoman Malele Cox, my sister.
I have both the pleasure and the honor of representing the 6th Automatic District. Now, I was asked by Mr. Verdeen to speak with you all today, not just about MLK, but about the life and legacy of Val R. Phillips. How many of you all have had the honor of knowing Val Phillips personally? All right. You know, in her 95 years of life, I don't think it's a generation amongst us that has not been touched by the life she led. In 2008, I had the opportunity to be elected to Milwaukee's Common Council. For 4 years prior to my being there had not been a woman out of the 15 members. In 2008, I became the sole woman and the youngest woman ever elected to Milwaukee's Common Council. And I figured that out on the walk back from the inauguration at the Pabst Building to City Hall with Val Phillips. I know very keenly that it is she who kicked open the doors of City Hall and who smashed the glass ceiling that afforded me and several women before me to have the opportunity to hold the title of Alderwoman today. That she told me how old she was when she got elected. Because she, at that point, was the youngest woman ever elected to Milwaukee's Common Council at 32. And at the time, I was 30. So I said, wait, that means I'm the youngest one. But when I think of her and I think of MLK, there are 3 things that come to mind. Those 3 things are courage. We all know her for her fight with the open housing and all of that, even though she did so much more. Legislation that she believed was just fair and was just right to allow people to select where they wanted to live, regardless of their race or culture. Year after year, to be the lone vote in support of some legislation that just was common sense. Took a lot of courage. Just like for MLK at 27 to be selected as the voice for the civil rights movement, to be willing to risk life, safety, and even freedom for civil rights. That takes a lot of courage. It's a quote by Dr. King that goes, "The ultimate measure of a man is not where he stands in moments of comfort and convenience, but where he stands at times of challenge and controversy." We should recognize that just as Val had courage to fight for fair housing and so many other things at a time where it was not popular, and just as MLK fought for civil rights and traveled across this country to lead people, it took courage. That same courage is as needed today as it was when Val fought for fair housing, as it was when she passed. I said, I gotta do the street because it's what Val wanted. She wanted 4th Street for a reason. 1, her church that she grew up in was on 4th Street. 2, she married her husband Dale in that church on 4th Street. 3, she went to school on 4th Street. But 4 was because of the proximity of the street to her good friend and fellow change agent, Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. So I am even more honored to see her today on Dr. King's birthday, to be able to talk to you about the Honorable Val Phillips right on Val Phillips Avenue. But just like those open housing marches and the 200 days of commandos, NAACP, youth council members, and so many others helped make it more possible for Val to be able to fight for the legislation she fought for at City Hall. And just as all of the great things that MLK did, it wouldn't have happened if it wasn't for all of the hundreds of thousands of people across this nation that led protests, that uplifted the word and that fought for humanity just like he did. those collaborations were necessary in order to make the change that they saw fit. I couldn't have done the street renaming if it wasn't for the support of my colleagues and the support of the community. So I would like to say thank you all for helping to be able to even honor Valerie. So we talked about the courage and we talked about the need for collaboration. With that third piece of the change, I just want to say this. Sometimes the obstacle ahead, whether it's dealing with this federal shutdown, dealing with the segregation in the city, dealing with open housing, dealing with civil rights, it feels so heavy, it feels like so much, it feels like you're battling a giant. But the thing about a giant is, the vows of the world, the MLKs of the world, I really think of them as giant slayers. And I feel like each of us has the power to be a giant slayer too. Because how do you slay a giant? Somebody gotta hit him in the face. Somebody gotta hit him in the gut. And somebody gotta kick him in the knee. Who knows which blow is going to be the one that makes him fall. But each of those actions have to happen in order for change to occur. In that conversation with Val about the street, she was very particular about wanting it to go from Capitol to St. Paul. And I asked her why. And she said because this city did a disservice to Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. when they allowed the street to be stopped and not go through over. So they didn't have the courage and the collaboration necessary to do what was right. But then maybe in 2019 we should right the historical wrong, right here in our own backyard. So I pledge to you all, and I would love your support with you, to work diligently with my colleagues to make sure that we right that historical wrong, and to work hard to attempt to do what Val said was the injustice that we allowed to happen back in '83, and to fight for MLK to go with us. I believe Val was a huge giant slayer, and I believe MLK was too. We all have the power to be that in our homes, on our blocks, in our communities, and in this nation. So it is in that spirit that I want you all, within the sound of my voice, to repeat after me. Together, we will slay the giant.
We shall not be moved. We shall not be moved like a tree that's planted by the water. We shall not be moved. Fighting for our life, and we shall not be moved. Fighting for our life, and we shall not be moved like a tree that's planted by the water.
Dr. King's speech that he did at the Riverside Church in New York City. I preach to you today on the war in Vietnam because my conscience leaves me with no other choice. The time has come for America to hear the truth about this tragic war. In international conflicts, the truth is hard to come by because most nations are deceived about themselves. Ye shall know the truth, says Jesus, and the truth shall set you free. Now, I've chosen to preach about the war in Vietnam because I agree with Dante that the hottest places in hell are reserved for those who in a period of moral crisis maintain their neutrality. There comes a time when silence becomes betrayal. The truth of these words is beyond doubt, but the mission to which they call us is a most difficult one. Even when pressed by the demands of inner truth, men do not easily assume the task of opposing their government's policy, especially in a time of war. But we must speak. We must speak with all the humility that is appropriate to our limited vision, but we must speak. And we must rejoice. For in all of our history, there has never been such a monumental descent during a war by the American people.
Now, I want to introduce peace activist and justice warrior, George Martin, who will recognize our community. Go ahead. And George is going to introduce our community members who have gone to jail for justice in the nonviolent spirit of Dr. Martin.
Every time we get the news, we are struck by the tragic policies of our country's leaders. Now is the time to fight back politically and socially through nonviolent direct action. Nonviolence over the years has gained political progress through strong social movements, labor, civil rights, student, women, farm workers, anti-nuclear, LGBT, and the anti-Vietnam and Iraq wars. During the last 50 years, 50 non-representative governments, in other words, dictatorships and autocrats, those governments crumbled due to nonviolent direct action, including nonviolent civil disobedience. During that same period, there were 30 military wars resulting in uncountable deaths, injury, destruction, and enormous financial cost, with mixed results. The Arab Spring of revolutions in 6 countries began in Tunisia in 2010. Tunisia was the only Arab Spring country to have a completely nonviolent revolution. It is the only one that maintains its democracy today. A 21st century movement for peace and social change has to be disciplined and nonviolent, allowing a new society to emerge. Direct action educates the public to impact the politicians and decision makers. There are hundreds of direct action tactics of which nonviolent civil disobedience is one. During the last Iraq War, peace action, we implemented 121 tactics of nonviolent direct action, including 7 actions of nonviolent civil disobedience. I trained dozens of fast food workers from the Fight for 15 movement. We trained in the culture and discipline of nonviolent civil disobedience. In a successful demonstration at McDonald's on 9th and North Avenue, 23 of us were arrested with great local and national media coverage. This resulted in education for the public, the politicians, and the McDonald's Corporation and its franchisees. That's nonviolent civil disobedience. I dedicate today's program to Father Jerry Zawada, member of Casa Maria Catholic Workers. A decade ago, I asked Father Jerry, how many times have you been arrested around this country? Jerry humbly said, George, I quit counting after 150 arrests and years in prison. Father Jerry Zawada went to heaven a year and a half ago after following King's way. We honor Father Jerry and all those Milwaukeeans who have risked arrest and gone to jail for justice following King's way. Nuclear disarmament in the 1950s. Rose Statesman, where are you, Rose? Thank you. The Milwaukee 14, including Milwaukeeans Bob Groff, Michael Cullen, and Father Larry Rosebaum, deceased. Milwaukee Civil Rights Movement, Fred Reed, Wilbur Arms, stand up please. And there were many, many more. Casa Maria Catholic Workers, Don Timmerman, please stand. Roberta Thurston, Phil Runkle, thank you. Vietnam student groups, Art Heitzer, Peace Action, Jeannie Heyer, Jacob Merschberger, Brian Bunzel, Cookie Anderson. Thank you. Against the war in Iraq, Joyce Ellwanger, Kate Fontanaza, Sister Virginie Lawinger, Julie Enslow, Jim Carpenter, Cash Workfinger, Peace Alderman Don Richards, Ellen Brady, Brian Verdeen, and myself, and many, many others. Thank you. School of the Americas Watch, Joyce Ellwanger, Kate Fontanaza, Gerhard Fisher, Judith Williams, and Kathleen Hart, and many from Mass Arrest. Fair Trade Campaign, Bill Lang, Jim Carpenter, Steve Wadsworth, where are you? Thank you. Moses Dalla Rotera, Christine Newman Ortiz. More than 100 members of VOSIS were arrested. Campaign Against Police Violence, Dante Hamilton Movement, and those before him. We're honored to have Maria Hamilton, Dante's mother, and Nate Hamilton. Thank you for your leadership and being arrested. Thank you. The Poor People's Campaign, Wendell Harris, please stand. Jim Carpenter, Lynn Milner, Terry Wiggins, Sister Rose Keats, please stand, everybody. With an estimated 45 people who risked arrest and were ticketed. Fight for 15, Solo Littlejohn, with a total of 23 people arrested. Minimum wage. Legal is a key element of nonviolent civil disobedience. Foremost in our community is Attorney Richard Sachs. Attorney Sachs works often during our action and always long after we're released from jail. Thank you. The ACLU has always been there for us. Please stand. Thank you. Photography is huge in documenting our direct actions. We have the best, Sue Ruggles and Joe Brusky. Joe is returning later today from working with the California Teachers Strike. Sue has always covered this event. Thank you, Sue. Let's give all these wonderful activists a standing ovation, please. Of introducing Joyce Ellwanger of the School of the Americas Watch and Peace Action. Let's welcome Joyce.
It's a very special day in our nation as we honor Dr. King and have an official holiday. No school, government shut down. Not just for today, and all because of a wall. In 1964, Dr. King stood at a wall. It was in Germany, and it divided a country. And this is what he said: "No man-made barrier can obliterate the fact that God's children reside on both sides. There's no east or west or north or south, but one great fellowship of love throughout the whole wide world." That beloved community that Dr. King envisioned included all of us and included our enemies as well. Some of us have been named today for our nonviolent acts of civil disobedience, such as at the School of the Americas, where we stood in solidarity with Central American brothers and sisters in what Gerhard Fisher called holy obedience rather than civil disobedience. Martin Luther King understood this. His actions always involved nonviolence training. You didn't march. You hadn't had the training. This training was especially helpful to me at my trial in Columbus, Georgia, before a judge who was known for his strict sentences. Every life is precious. And I used 3 rocks to try to illustrate that truth. One was a piece of sidewalk from here in Milwaukee. We did Micah prayer vigils for almost 2 decades, where families, neighbors, friends were invited to the site of the homicides to reclaim that space as holy ground, and the lives lost as precious to God and a loss to all of our community. Another one was a beautiful rock that I found in a gift shop. It was from Vietnam. And I told the judge, we have a memorial in Washington, D.C. commemorating 52,000 soldiers who lost their lives in that unjustifiable and tragic war. But over 2 million nameless Vietnamese also lost their lives, lives just as precious. The third rock was from a massacre in the Rio Sampo River in El Salvador. The military were trained at the School of the Americas. They were the leaders and perpetrators. The people were dumped in mass graves. And only through efforts that are still happening today have some of those bodies been reclaimed by their loved ones. When I finished making the connection between my rocks and my witness at the School of the Americas, the preciousness of lives so cruelly and illegally taken, I asked the judge if someone could come and bring them back to me. And he said rather gruffly, "I'm keeping this one." It was the rock from Vietnam. So I did some deep breathing and concentrated on those principles of nonviolence that I had learned and been taught. How could I answer this challenge? This is what I said. "No, Judge, take it as my gift." As I was leaving the courtroom, an SOA staff person accompanied me back, and he said, "Joyce, do you know why the judge kept your rock? His younger brother was drafted and sent to Vietnam, the brother he loved so dearly. 3 months later, he was dead, a life precious to him, a message he could hear from me and relate to. We had connected. We all have so many stories about the power of nonviolence, alive and well in our lives and in our world. We need to tell the stories, and we need to live the stories. Nonviolence works. Know it, live it, teach it, share it, as Dr. King did for us.
So, Little John, from the Fight for 15.
I want to say today I am proud. It is an honor to be here celebrating Dr. Martin Luther King, who fought tirelessly in his fight for justice, and now it is our responsibility to continue his fight. We know that his values and beliefs were based on civil rights, equal protection under the law, and labor rights. He truly believed that we have to take the first step in faith, even if we don't see the whole staircase. Our fight is taking that first step. Some of the most important steps that he took was his demonstration of nonviolent action and how he took multiple arrests, many times for what he believed in. And I myself can relate to this because I've been arrested multiple times for what I believe in, for what I believe many of us believe in. And because of his actions, I am encouraged to exercise my rights and participating in civil disobedience too. The Fight for 15 especially has been a catalyst for me to express my voice and make sure my actions are heard. Getting arrested has empowered me. As a black man, you're not comfortable with being arrested. But in my time with the Fight for 15, the times I've been arrested, I felt honored. I felt privileged. I felt what I was doing is right. It symbolizes that we won't back down and that we're willing to do whatever it takes to secure justice for all. And for us, that justice is 15 individuals. And most importantly, Dr. King has taught us courage, not to just speak on it, but act on it, to mobilize through nonviolent actions, through demonstrations, through whatever it takes in the face of injustice. I will say this by quoting Dr. Martin Luther King, that injustice anywhere is an injustice everywhere. Once again, thank you. My name is Sullivan Littlejohn with the Fight for 15.
Keep the dream alive. Peace and love.
So here's more of Dr. King's speech opposing the war in Vietnam. When you tell the truth and take a stand, sometimes it means that you will walk the streets with a burdened heart. Sometimes it means losing a job. It means being abused and scorned. It may even mean having a 7, 8-year-old child asking a daddy, "Why do you have to go to jail so much?" I'm not in despair because I know that there is a moral order. I haven't lost faith because the arc of the moral universe is long, but it bends towards justice. I haven't lost faith because I can still sing "We Shall Overcome" because Carlyle was right. No lie can live forever. We shall overcome because William Cullen Bryant was right. Truth pressed to the earth will rise again. We shall overcome because the Bible is right. You will reap what you sow. With this faith, we will be able to transform the jangling discords of our world into a beautiful symphony of brotherhood. With this faith, we will be able to speed up the day when justice will roll down like waters and righteousness like a mighty stream. With this faith, we will be able to speed up the day when all over the world we will be able to join hands and sing in the words of the old Negro spiritual, "Free at last, free at last. Thank God Almighty, we are free at last." And nations will not rise up against other nations. Neither shall they study war anymore. And I don't know about you, but I ain't going to study war no more. Thank you.
There's a city of you hiding. Brother, 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 there's far too many of you hiding. You know you've got to find a way to bring some loving here today. Oh, Father, Father, your time is real. Oh, but who are they to judge us? Simply because our hair is long. His eyes, his eyes, don't punish me with brutality. Talk to me, oh, what's going on? Thank you.
One more song led by Pansy Williams. We'll proceed to the march 2 blocks to the Dr. King statue on Martin Luther King Drive.